I'm very happy to have another young Indian with us. Looks like a smiling face. Makes me happy. And hello, everybody. Good to be back. Right now, we have with us Prithav Bang. Let's listen to him. Over to you, Prithav.
Thank you, and namaste to everyone listening to this. I am Prithav Bang. I am a final year law student at NMIMS School of Law, Mumbai. I have completed my high schooling in humanities, and post that, because I had this urge of, vouching for social rights, vouching for civic rights, political rights, I joined law. Besides my introduction of from an academic perspective, from a sports perspective, I love cricket. I love playing cricket. I love badminton. I love squash. I love swimming. I love everything which is on earth which involves sports in it. Besides, from the sports perspective, let's come to the social things or social scheme of things. I am quite inclined towards politics, like every other Indian household is. I have my opinion, and I like to raise that opinion also. And this interview itself is an example of how I want to raise my opinions. I want to raise my ideas. I believe this is the voice of young India, and the process by which this interview is being carried out is the platform which all of us need to voice our opinions, our ideas, the things which we've learned, and the things which we want to pass on to the coming generation. This particular scheme of things or this particular interview is something which I have divided into four legs to make it more easier and systematic. To start with, I will explain more of the academic side of things as to how did I complete my high schooling, which board was I governed by, which exam did I give, and what college I am in right now. Then we'll enter the professional stage of it as to the internship part of it. Internship in our country right now is the buzzword. Everyone wants an internship, everyone wants a job. But how was my experience with this whole setup is something which I want to talk about. Then we would move on to my personal space as to what are the qualities which I want to imbibe in myself, what are the qualities which I acknowledge about myself, and what are the qualities which I believe are generic and collectivistic in nature, which all of us as in the society we are right now should have. And I would end by giving out certain recommendations which even I follow, and I believe if you who are watching it right now, besides the both of us who are recording it, follow, it will be for the greater good.
Okay,
So
let's go.
to
Let's
start with
go.
academic, I am from the orange city of this country. I'm from Nagpur. I completed my education in under the ages of CBSE, Central Board of Secondary Education. CBSE was a buzzword when I completed my 12th and my 10th. Everyone wanted to be in this particular setup. Until then, ICSE was not something which was mainstream. Neither was International Board. And State Board, I don't know why, was apparently looked down upon. I started with CBSE. I completed the first 5 years. I completed the next 5 years, and then came the D-Day, which every one of us, and I believe Subodh, even you would agree to me when I say this, the 10th board exams.
Yes.
Now, this is something which was something which I was not able to understand or comprehend. That why is only this exam being so major and not any other exam? Why is the word board used here? The very basis of it being an exam. We all gave that exam. We all, most of us had this CGPA wala concept there for the first time. Not until the 9.5 years of our academics, we had this concept of CGPA. And apparently in the next 6 months, we have this concept of what is 9 CGPA, what is cumulative grade point accomplished. Now, this is the example which I want to give. Why is this education system being followed that for 9.5 years, you get percentage, you don't know what a CGPA is, and apparently your your admission to the higher college of 11th, 12th is based on CGPA, which you don't know. By what percentage to what percentage is 9? By what to what is 10? And by what to what is 8? Now, this is the fallacy here, which I want to talk about. We follow a particular system, we follow a particular trend for approximately a decade, and we change it immediately. And by the time we are talking about this is happening again. In 2 months from now, people would be giving their board exams, will be getting their CGPAs, and would be getting their education admission into a different college.
Yes.
But in this whole process, I want to ask a question to any person who's giving this board exam. Do you even know the full form of CGPA?
Yeah.
Moving forward, once you've completed the higher education till 12th, once you've completed CBSE, once you've completed board exams, now comes a tectonic shift in my life from Nagpur to Mumbai.
Yeah.
Mumbai is a name. Mumbai is a name which has different meanings, which Nagpur might not have, or any other city. Kanpur might not have, or Ahmedabad might not have. Some call this city Maya Nagar. Some call this city a city which changes your fate. Some call this city a city which ruins your fate. Every person here has their own experience, and that is the beauty of this city. This city will never ever give you a short chance to success, but it will give you what is the most important thing in life: hope. Now, why do I say so that this city will give you hope? This city, Subodh, in my opinion, is an example of a mini India. Transculturalism is something which is present in this city. You speak English, you speak Marathi, you speak Hindi, you might speak Parsi, knowing the heritage of Bombay and not Mumbai. So this is a very iconic part of this city that it teaches you life from a different perspective or from various different perspectives. Now, a lot of people say that you are just, hyping up this city, or this city might not be what is actually, this city is something which you look at from far and you see this is built of gold. But once you enter, this is of copper. And this might be an opinion of various people because they have different experiences to form the. But for me, to describe the very first day, let me take you to the very first day of my study in this college called NMIMS, Narsi Munji Institute of Managerial Sciences. This is under the brand of SPKM, which is a deemed to be university, a private university, which again brings us to a different focal point. The debate of being in a public university, a government university, and a private university. The fee structure, the placement, the teachers with the teachers, the peer group, everything. So dilemmas which a youth faces when he crosses the 10th standard is immense. आप साइंस नहीं ले रहे हो तो आप गलती कर रहे हो कॉमर्स नहीं ले रहे हो तो गलती कर रहे हो इफ यू टेकिंग ह्यूमैनिटीज और आर्ट्स are you from a different gender? Are you stereotyping a gender? This is how we look down upon certain streams, which is very sad. All the prime ministers of our country, let me tell you, Subodh, were a student of humanities arts. And I
Yes.
see this on record proof. And most of them were advocates. Most of them were lawyers. None of them were an engineer and none of them were a doctor. This has to be the reality of this system.
Okay.
Once we move on from this setup, we come to Mumbai. The first day of me in this city, I see crores of people. I do not see lakhs or 10 lakhs, I see crores of people. And from where I come from, and from where the majority of people who are watching this video come from, we do not have a habit of boarding a train to roam in the same city in which we are.
Yes.
We do not have a habit of getting into a bus or catching a bus. We do not have a habit of keeping 21 rupees or 20 rupees in our pocket to pay that rickshaw driver. This is the change of habit which this city brings into you. So both imagine this situation. I'm in this city. I come from Nagpur, which does not even have 25% of the population which Mumbai has. I'm standing in this college, apparently, which is a building of 9 floors, having one college in every floor. Hundreds of people going on the right, on the left, some forward, some backward. And I'm in the middle of this whole city, in the middle of this college, thinking, what am I doing here? And why am I doing this? Now, this is the fallacy which every student faces. Why do you think of this situation after you get an admission? After you've moved out to a new city? This is something which I should have thought when I was understanding CGPA or what humanities is. But this is what the issue is. You get into something because of peer pressure, because of that, that saying, go with the flow. But remember one thing, Subodh, dead fishes go with the flow. I went with the flow. I am here. For me, luckily or fortunately, this flow was something which I wanted. But this won't be the case for you or for any other person who's watching this video. And why should this case for be? This case should be for them. If I want to ask. I come in this city. I come in this city in a college. Now, how many of us have actually, done the epistemology of this word college? Do we even know the meaning? Or do we even know the meaning of this of the word school? We don't. We just go there to learn. We just go there because everyone was going and everyone will go. Let me tell you a fact here, Subodh, a very interesting fact. You know which was the first IIT in our country?
Well, I do know, but I'm not talking.
It was IIT Kharagpur,
Yes.
the first IIT of our country. And this IIT was based in a campus which was a detention prison in the British time. So get the psychology here of the education system of our country, of the schooling system of our country. And that is when I end up in a college, in a college doing a degree which has the longest time span of 5 years. No other degree besides law has a time span of 5 years. Engineering in four, medical in four, bachelor's of business in three, law in five. So in amidst that crowd, in this city, in that college, I'm thinking that I have to be here for 5 long years to get what? To get a degree. I want to ask this to everyone who is watching, with watching me or listening to me right now. What do you think a degree is? Some say it is a piece of paper. Some say you cannot do anything without a degree. And then some become the prime minister of the world's largest democracy without having a degree. So, in what way do you comprehend the degrees I want to ask? This is an open-ended question. I don't have an answer to this. Because when I'm being interviewed right now, interestingly and coincidentally, I've completed 5 years of my law school. Only 2 months are left. And right now, when I'm sitting on a chair using a computer to give this interview, I think the way I had thought then also that what is a degree. So if you think a college will answer your question, it won't. Your question will be answered by your experience and not by the degree. The question will be answered by that lecturer who is teaching you an hour every week and not by the name of subject. And this is what I have learned through the academic sphere of my life. That certain terms which are used formally are the terms which we need to demolish. We cannot build a society on these terms of a college, of a degree, of a city, of a board. We cannot do this. We are doing injustice when we do this. The very reason that we are producing graduates like a factory, a manufacturing company, is because none of them understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're just doing what everyone is doing. And you cannot do things like this. Or else you'll end up like every other man is facing in his middle age, the middle age crisis, the midlife crisis. When on one day you're giving an interview to a particular news channel from a corporate setup, and on the other day you're in the forest with a wildlife camera. Because you cannot understand what you want, what you're doing, what is your passion. And now, when we understand all of this, we have a chance to correct this. And when do we correct this? We correct this from the very basis of it. We need to put that idea in the thought of that child who is entering into nursery and KG2 that nothing has been decided for you. You decide your board, you decide your college, you decide your subjects.
Okay.
With this about I think I'm talking like a politician now, which I don't want to, but I have a habit of this because I'm going to become a lawyer. Let's move on to the next leg of what I want to speak now. It is about the professional space. Now,
Okay.
interestingly, until 11th and 12th, or until the 18 years of your life, you never understand or hear these two words or these two alphabets, CV. We do not hear this word. And until the completion of our college, we don't even know the full form of this word, which is curriculum vitae. And this is so sad. Everyone in this race, in this race wants to make their CV, wants to make their resume. But do you know the meaning of CV? Do you know the meaning of resume? When did it start? What is the relevance? What all to include and what to do? Another failure of education system. Until 12th, do they even teach us to make a CV? Or if you were to be speaking this interview, suppose I would have asked you, did you know how to make a CV when you were entering your college? And I presume the answer would have been no. I presume that you must have not been taught the meaning of CV or the meaning of resume. And then comes the most dreadful word of every college going student, which is internship. How do you get one? What is the meaning of the certificate? What work do you do? If you are an intern, will you be paid, Subodh, or will you be not paid? Another debate on which the Supreme Court of India yesterday gave a ruling that every medical intern who is in the medical college, the college is taking thousands of crores of rupees as fees. You need to pay stipend. What are you doing if you're not paying them stipend? If you're not paying them for their work? If you not pay them when they start working, how will you expect them to ask for money when they're getting employed? What will be the psychology of their bargaining power if you are killing it from the very beginning of it? Then
Okay.
I come to my professional space in which, and I thoroughly believe in a phrase, Subodh, and a complete phrase, not a part of it. A jack of all is master of none is not the complete phrase. Jack of all, master of none, oftentimes better than master of one is the complete phrase. And apparently, this whole world is only working on half of it. And I, as an individual, I, as Prithav Bang, believe in the full part of it. That a jack of all might be a master of none, but he is oftentimes better than a master of one.
Yeah.
And that is something which I follow. I thoroughly follow. The first 4 years of my life, the first internship rather which I had was in a net tech startup. From a net tech startup, I moved into law, into the commercial litigation part of it, being in Mumbai, the commercial hub of India. Then I also witnessed civil litigation, criminal litigation, real estate litigation. And on the advent of my 4th year, I realized this is not something which is working for me. I moved into the policy space of things, the public policy space of things. A lot of my peers, my lecturers, my professors told me, "What are you doing? Why are you taking this risk? Do you have a cushion to take this risk? Is this something which would be worth it?" Now, in this particular, situation, I'm being remembered of a poem, "The Road Not Taken." You
Yes.
know, if you would have heard, I mean, recited it once, "The Road Not Taken." What if you would have taken that route and not this route? And I took that leap of faith. I took that route. I moved into the policy space. I worked with Mr. Amar Patnaik, who was a member of parliament from Rajya Sabha from Odisha. Post then, I worked with an economics think tank. Post that, I worked with the collector of my hometown, Nagpur, to understand how a particular village is managed, how funds in this village, our last mile is reached, how are the policies, dispensed to a particular citizen to whom it is built. Was interestingly, we and you sitting here know what a policy is, but the person for whom the policy is being made, does he or she know what the policy is, what the benefits are, and what is the logic of them making this policy for me, or are they even getting the benefit of this policy? Is the question which I want to ask.
Okay.
So one example which I want to give to the youth or to any person who is listening to this interview is that diversify your experience. When you hear the word diversification, always understand, until and unless you have the student tag with you, you have wings. Red Bull will not give you wings. The tag of a student will give you wings. On a lighter note. So when you are a student, you have the time to understand things, to go into different setups, to know how the world works. Because once the tag is gone, and again, this is something which is a stereotypical situation. I don't endorse this thing, but apparently this is the reality of it. That once you lose the tag of being a student, you fear exploring, you fear shifting your career, or you fear taking a new step. Why? Because you need to earn. What
Yeah.
will you say to society?
Yeah.
वो चार लोग क्या बोलेंगे जिन 4 लोगों को आप जानते भी नहीं. And therefore, everyone who is listening to this video, I want you to know, if you are going to college or if you have this tag of being a student, use it thoroughly. It will be more useful than the Aadhaar card which you have in your pocket.
All right.
Diversify experience. And when you diversify your experience, remember, one thing which will be more important than money in your life is connection building. The very fact that I am being interviewed here by Subodh is not because I paid him or he paid me. It is because we found ourselves or found each other through connection.
Yeah.
And the very reality of life is that where money doesn't work, connection works. And therefore, whenever you go, whoever you meet, make sure you make an indelible mark on them. An indelible mark is a mark which you have on your fingernail every 5 years. Or if you don't, you should think why you're a citizen of the world's largest democracy, because you should have that mark on your finger, which you'll have in coming months. Whenever you meet some people, whenever you go into industry, make sure you make connections. And how do you do, or how do you make connections? You make connections when you spend some duration in that industry. 3 years back, suppose I was working in a place. I am because of confidential reasons, I cannot disclose the name. But while I was working for that employer or the founder of that, that whole organization, I asked him a question. What is more important, the number of experiences which I have, or the duration of those experiences which I have? And what did he answer? He told me, if you work at three places for 1 month, and if you work at one place for 3 months, it will be entirely different. So always, and mark my words, and I say this to everyone who is listening, and even to you, support, if you are working anywhere in your life, work at least for a quarter or more than that. It is only then will you be able to make a decision as to do you like that place or not, or do you like that employer or not, or do you like that space or not. So duration, diversification, and connection are the three words which are very important when it comes to in any professional experience in the field of law or any field from which you are while you watch this video. Because until and you do not have these three factors with you, you really cannot actually excel out of that space. एक महीने की internship is something which we generally get, which is of no value. Trust me, because while you go to that internship, 4 Sundays and 4 Saturdays, 22 days, 2 holidays because you'll definitely get sick. Okay, only 20 days of actual work are there which you're getting. You're not even working for 8 hours per day. So technically, you're only working for what, like 20 into 8, 160 hours in the whole month. In those 160 hours, every day 1 hour of lunch break. Half an hour you are late, and half an hour you go early. This situation, if you're working, how do you expect to get an experience? This is a mistake which I did, and I request you all to not do it. And lastly, when it comes to professional space, 2 words. Let's compare those 2 words. First word is the certificate. Obviously, no. Let's make it three for the justice, for the larger justice. The third word is stipend here. Okay. So the 3 words. The first one being the certificate. अब some people would say you, मैंने रद्दी वाले को दे दिया, या फिर वो बस मेरे फोल्डर में जाके रह गया. And some people would say you, it is the proof that you work. I would like to rebut. The proof of your working is in your habit and not in that piece of paper. I am not diminishing the value of that piece of paper. But what I want to tell here is that make sure you have the habit of learning. You know what you that even though you lose that paper someday, you'll never lose the habit or the experience which you got from that place. The second point here, internship ka stipend. Do we do unpaid work or do we do paid work? Now, trust me, suppose at your age, this might not be a concern for you, but for our age, this is the most concerning thing which we have. If you could have, I would have asked you to ask me why. So I assume you are asking me why. Why is it so? At this age, the tumultuous age of 20, we are shameful of asking money from our parents. And I'm pretty sure even you would have the same position. How do I ask for money? Where do I use this money? How much do I ask for? How often do I ask for? In this guilt of not asking, we walk kilometers and kilometers to college. So instead of trying to save those 20, we get ill and we have to pay 2,000 to doctor. In lighter note, the whole cycle. So at this age, if any employer is watching this video, I want you to understand, respect the fact that every student is going through a very difficult time when it comes to their psychological and hormonal changes. And the only stimulant which they have in this situation is, which should not be, but is money. So if you are making any person do unpaid work, it is very bad. because you're not only paying him in that circumstance, you're also discouraging that person from asking money.
Yeah.
Because then you have an impression that उधर तो मुझे नहीं मिला था, इधर मेरा मांगना ठीक होगा क्या? अरे वैसे इंटर्नशिप कहीं नहीं मिल रही है तो फ्री में ही कर लेता हूँ, एटलीस्ट सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा. At the age of your 10, 20, when you are getting an admission into a college, you have worked hard and you are a product in yourself. Why do you think of any situation on the perspective of at least? This time you go to at most. The thing which needs to be changed here. Okay. So, from my perspective, my experiences, I was seldom paid in my internships board. And I still believe that if I were to be paid, I would have been the happiest to work. When you know your work is going to be acknowledged by a letter or an envelope at the end of the internship, you'll work harder and you'll work faster. Or else you'll always complain to the intern, being an employer, कि तुम लोग तो काम ही नहीं करते, मैं तुमको पैसा क्यों दूँ? आप हमें पैसा इसलिए दो ताकि हम काम करें. Okay. Now, let's move on to the third leg, a very personal leg of who I am, of who Prithav Bang is. The qualities which I think one should have, the qualities which I have, not being cocky here, but just being factual. And the qualities which I thought I could have had I got a chance. So both when we talk about the youth of this country, one thing which we need to keep in our mind is that we are demographically in the majority. Demographically, we are the ones who will decide what policy is made when and by whom. And we, the person I'm fingering, I'm pointing out to you, the person who is listening to this, you, and the person who is speaking this, me, both of us will decide the fate of this country. And it is important for us to acknowledge and accept this fact that we have certain responsibilities on our shoulders. Or else, if this cycle of being demographically in majority is a very unique cycle, which comes once in decades, and I'm very sure both you would second my opinion here, that this cycle comes once in a decade. China doesn't have.
Not even once in a decade, once in a century. You should read my book, which has a chapter on this. But let's continue.
Absolutely, I would. Okay, so once in a century is the man who has an experience of an ocean who is saying this. That this comes once in a century. China doesn't have it. Singapore doesn't have it. USA doesn't have it. We have it, and we need to bank on this. Academics will only take you to a point when you learn 60,000 a month, save 20,000 SIPs, spend 40,000. But your personality and your qualities will take you to those 60 lakhs and 60 crores if you want to earn. And trust me, buddy, whoever is listening this, if you don't want to earn, you are the best. You have the best situation in the entire universe, if I could say so. Because this stimulant of earning is very harmful. If you're not having this stimulant and you're content in what you have, you are the most happiest person in the world. Because whatever we do in college, in life, everything should help us sleep better. If it is not worth it. And trust me, this is not a blanket statement. This is a proven statement. Okay. Next, when we move on to the qualities, some generic qualities which I believe have been passed on since generations are very common. You should be hardworking. You should be ambitious. You should be patient. And you should communicate. These certain 4 qualities are the pillars of every personality which I think should be. Now, hardworking, Subodh, in this 21st century, which we were discussing before going on air, was smart working. Working with data. Working with the digital scheme of things. And as recently as if I could have given an example, working with artificial intelligence. It is important for us to understand that the word hard work is same, but the interpretation of hard work is changing. And are we changing with that interpretation is the question which I want to ask. The second word, ambition. I would like to quote a phrase here in Hindi. अपने पैर उतने ही फैलाओ जितनी चादर है. Is the mindset which traditionally the Indian society had. But क्यों ना आप चादर उतनी खरीदो जितने पैर है. Is the change of mindset which we need. And here comes the word ambition. Do you want to become ambition in parallel to your condition, or do you want to become ambition by thinking that you want to change your condition? Is what I want to understand. So even if you are from a very small town in a particular district of Madhya Pradesh or Haryana, you will know this phrase, Ram Ram Saryani. Now, what is this phrase? This phrase was by a person who took a 75-day hard challenge, that bodybuilder. And this phrase is on the mouth of you, Subodh. Yes, on the person watching this also. Why is it so? Because that person was ambitious of doing something coming out of that situation which he was. So never be ambitious by seeing other people. Be ambitious by seeing yourself. Because the definition and the degree of ambitiousness of your father was different, your mother is different, and yours will be different.
Mm-hmm.
So never be content when it comes to being ambitious, and never be guilty of being ambitious, is what I've experienced.
Okay.
The third word, and the word which the quality which I personally don't have, being patient. I joined this interview 10 minutes back with the example of how impatient I am.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you understand and acknowledge the fact that you need to be patient, is when you wait for the results to happen. Rome wasn't built in a day. Is something which has been passed on from generation to generation and will pass on to generation. Because this is a evergreen quote, and therefore it is very important to wait and understand the difference between waiting for something and wasting time for something. I
Mm-hmm.
am not asking you to waste your time for waiting for to wait for an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you to utilize your time and wait for an opportunity. You can only reach to a particular destination or a place when you are prepared for that. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that the universe will prepare, Bhagwan batayenge kab aayega, not. I'm saying your gut will tell you that
Mm-hmm.
yes, you're prepared and go ahead. And until and unless your gut does not tell you, follow
Mm-hmm.
this method which you used to follow in mathematics in class 7th, the method of trial and error in composite mathematics. Follow this method of trial and error, because until unless you do not make error, you'll never understand the meaning of elimination.
Mm-hmm.
Thomas Alva Edison had thousands of inventions, but the 1001th invention was what we know right now, the bulb.
Yes.
Thousands we do not. And
Yeah.
the world will not you know your thousand. But that person had the patience of waiting for thousand and the courage of going on to 1001.
Okay.
And that is why he is in your textbook or your history book. And the other person who waited on 999 is not there in your textbook.
Yeah.
Difference.
Yeah.
And lastly, we come to communication. Now, communication in life, I believe, is more important than water and oxygen, more important than H2O. Because if you have these two things, but you do not know how to communicate your feelings, you'll still get suffocated.
Mm.
Oxygen doesn't guarantee you life, but oxygen with communicate. This might be a very, very random example, but try to understand the psyche from where I'm coming. You're not here to exist, you're here to live. And you live when you interact, you live when you communicate. In these times when every other person, in this very small universe of me and Subodh right now, I'll give you three situations. Either both of us might be having any issue when it comes to mental health, or one of us would be having, or none of us would be having. The none of us has zero chances. One of us has 50, and both of us has 100. And when do you understand and communicate? When do you understand and comprehend? When you communicate this. Mental health has to be at par with your physical health. And how does it happen, or how do you make it at par? When you communicate. Communicate your ideas, communicate your feelings, communicate your thoughts. वो थ्री इडियट्स वाली मूवी याद करो. जवाहर माधवन को इंजीनियर नहीं बनना था, वाइल्ड लाइफ फोटोग्राफर बनना था. He communicated and got the opportunity to become one. These small examples are the reason of how and why you actually communicate your ideas and become a person who is better than what you were a day earlier. Do not fear communicating. I am here speaking to you. Subodh here is asking me to speak is because we are not afraid to communicate.
Right.
And not a quality, which I'm boasting about or which I'm being cocky of. This is a very basic quality which everyone should have. Because if you have this, only if you have this quality, will you be able to excel your potential. Because trust me, the person I'm pointing out towards you, whom you are listening, अगर आप अपने दिन का 15 मिनट या 40 मिनट इस वीडियो को दे रहे हो, जिस वीडियो को देख के शायद आपको टेंजिबल बेनिफिट कुछ ना हो, मतलब आप कंपटीशन से आगे हो, यू आर अहेड ऑन द कर्व, you are ahead of the edge because you are aware of improving yourself independently and personally. And being aware is very important to change things. Now, not taking much of your time, Subodh, because I love to speak, I kid you not. Let's move on to the last leg of this interview, in which I have a message for everyone and for myself also. Because when I speak to you, I also speak to myself. And when I speak to myself, self introspect. The most important word which I believe in everyone's life, and trust me, I'm not telling you this word in a sense of pressurizing you, or in the sense of what Narayan Murthy says that you should work for more than 100 hours a week. Not at all. I'm saying this word with the most most degree of gratitude and humbleness. The word productivity.
Okay.
Productivity might be a buzzword, but there's a reason why it is a buzzword. Understand the areas in which you are productive. You might not necessarily be productive in a particular area in which another person is productive. But you might be productive in cooking, in swimming, in teaching, or like your Subodh is in interviewing. So understand the sphere in which you are productive and then make sure that you excel. And how do you excel? When you practice again and again.
Yeah.
And here in this interview, I am not sponsoring Subodh or this channel in any manner. And neither has he asked me to do it. But just go to this YouTube page of this Vidped and understand in so less time he has interviewed so many people.
Yeah.
This is the art of consistency and this is the art of productivity.
Okay.
You keep scrolling, but the page won't tell you. The next word here is distractions. Unfortunately, because we are the youth of this country, अगर मैं हिंदी में इस चीज को बोलूं क्योंकि सबसे अच्छा एक्सप्रेशन इसका हिंदी में हो पाएगा, हमारा जो मन है वो स्थिर नहीं. We are not at a particular place. I'm sitting here, I'm thinking of something else, and we'll go somewhere else. The reality of this age of the corridor of uncertainty is what I call the age of 20, Subodh. The corridor of uncertainty. This is a cricketing term. Okay. So this is what I call this age. When you're uncertain about your life choices, of yourself, and the people surrounding you. Try and do away with these distractions. Okay. It can be it might be social media. It might not be social media. It might be, a habit which you have. Might be legit, might not be legit. But understand what are distractions which you have and try and let go of this. I'm not here giving a sermon, but I'm here exchanging ideas which I have found to be interesting. Okay. The last word, or the second last word, maybe taking 5 minutes of your time, just last 5 minutes. The comparison between LinkedIn and Instagram. Okay. This will be a very interesting comparison, and the white smile which Subodh has on his face tells us the reason why we need to have this comparison. I was reached out for this interview from LinkedIn and not Instagram. The very basic fact I want to put it. Now, many influencers are earning from LinkedIn and not earning from Instagram and not from LinkedIn. So every application which might be a distraction will have their own uses. So both it depends upon you as to how you use this application. So when people say Instagram waste of time है, मत करो ये वो, आज आपको सबसे ज्यादा जानकारी आपके दिन की इंस्टाग्राम से मिलती है. तो अगर आप उस एप्लीकेशन पे डिपेंडेंट हो तो क्यों ना आप उसको अपने फायदे के लिए यूज करें. I want to say. ठीक है. already giving time, use that time in a more productive manner. The first point which we have. And lastly, let's come to planning. In life, nothing can happen without planning, is what I believe. You would have learned. We scheduled and planned this interview is the reason I'm here speaking to you, or else we couldn't have. And that's why whenever you try out anything, and this plan will fail 100%. And I assure you right now, and I believe Subodh has faced this, and I am facing this in my life. What he had thought of himself at the age of 18 would be very different what he thinks of himself at the age of 24 or 34 or 54 or 54. But he planned and failed. He did not only fail. Planning and failing will be beneficial. Only failing will never be beneficial. And with this, Subodh, I understand you have another interview scheduled in a very short time. I really love the fact and respect the fact that you're doing this. People do not spare time for all of this. They think this is not of importance. But trust me, 10 years down the line, अगर कोई एक इंसान भी आज हमारा interaction देख लेता है, the purpose of this will be solved.
Okay.
We were able to change a single person's mindset is what we want to do here. And with this, people, I thank you all for listening to me. अगर आपने यहाँ तक सुना है तो hats off. मैं खुद को नहीं सुनता यार, but आप लोगों ने सुना आप लोगों ने सुना, hats off. I really respect the fact that you are here to change yourself. I love the fact that Subodh here is giving a platform for us to change ourselves. And yeah, let's get connected. I am Prithav Bang. My email is in the description of this YouTube video. You can find me on LinkedIn also. I'd love to talk to you personally. Thank you so much for your time, Subodh. Thank you so much for your effort. It means a lot.
Well, you have really spoken with passion and clarity. And that's I think a lawyer needs both passion and clarity. You can't be passionate, it cannot be without passion because, and you have to have clarity. I think passion and clarity. So you're going to be a good lawyer, whether you are in public policy or in something else, you have passion and clarity. So congratulations, well done, and thank you so much for being here. It's good to hear people with so much to say, and it validates the idea that I had that look, we need to give the young people a platform so that they can come forward. Okay, let's end it here. Maybe we'll catch up with you in 1 year
Absolutely, I would love
to see where you are at the end of 1 year. In the
to.
meantime, I'll come back with another young person or an expert. So bye, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much, Subodh.